Hi everybody, my name is Michael Pack, P-A-K, and I am with a company called Transworld Systems. I guess the big thing I'm going to talk about is 10 ways to improve your collections. I know that there are a lot of business owners here, and I never knew that I could learn math from Les Mis, and that Doc D with the technology, he and I were talking, and the fact that that's the wave of the future. I talk to a lot of people now that give their grandkids their iPhones or their iPads and say, show me how to use this. And then Sibo runs his own business with the homepage design. That'll probably be coming out of the ATC, probably the designers of the future. I'm going to talk about something a little more boring, but more important than anything else is for anybody that's an entrepreneur or business owner is going to be their accounts receivables. As a business owner, you have a product or service that you sell to someone. You expect to be paid in a timely manner, but for some odd reason, you've got those people that don't pay you when they should. And you really hate to bug them because you don't want to bug them. But it's your money, and that seems to be the big Achilles heel for a lot of businesses. Cash flow is king for business. If you don't have the cash flow coming in, your business is going to die pretty quickly. So what I'd like to do is ask a few questions with regards to compliance when it comes to collections, because the collection agency business is highly regulated. Is anybody familiar with the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act? Yeah. Those are the rules and regulations that tell us how we can go about collecting the money. And if you are not familiar with that Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, you could be in violation of the law, even though that money is yours, that you provided a service or a product, and if you violate that law, you could be held liable financially. Then there's also, anybody familiar with the Telephone Consumer Protections Act? Oh, there's a hand up there. It's another set of regulations that guides us as to how we go about making phone calls. And supposedly, we are not allowed to make automated phone calls to cell phones. It has to be a live person. So those are some of the rules. And so if you aren't familiar with those regulations, you could be in violation of the law. But on a better note, I want to talk to you about the top 10 ways to improve your collections. As I said, you provide a service or a product, you expect to be paid, but some people don't pay you. How do you go about getting them to pay you? One is you have to have a defined credit collections policy in force. So when you start a business, the whole idea is to have some idea as to how you're going to go about getting these people to pay you. Make it the terms on your paperwork, you get them to sign the forms, everything like that. That's having a policy in place. Send out your invoices properly and send the statements regularly. You'd be surprised that a lot of businesses do not send out statements on a regular basis or don't send them out promptly, which ages your bill with whoever you have business with, and that could be an issue as to why you're not getting paid. That could be an issue internally. There's also another little tip that a lot of businesses might not be aware of. It's use an address service requested. What you do on any statement that you send out, if, for instance, you are trying to find, for instance, people will move and they don't tell you what their new address is, and then all of a sudden it comes back, well, they aren't living there anymore, and then the chase begins because you're trying to figure out, how am I going to find these people? So if you put on there address service requested, the post office will send you any new address information with regards to that customer or client, and it costs you 50 cents per piece, but it saves you money in the long run having to chase after them any other way. Does that make sense? One of the other ones is contact your overdue accounts frequently. There is no law that says that you can't contact them on a daily basis. If your terms are net 30, net 10, net 20, upon receipt, if you don't get paid within a timely manner, your debtors, for lack of a better term, have violated your terms. There's no law that says how often you can contact them. You can contact them on a daily basis, but it's important for you to have a system in place that contacts them regularly. What I find is that you have one person that is handling your accounts receivables, but then they also have several other tasks that they have to do, that those other tasks then end up taking precedence over the accounts receivable, and that gets pushed aside. So you've got to have some type of way of contacting your people on a regular basis. One of the other issues that we find is that everybody likes to look at their aging report and they go, well, we know this person and we know that they're going to pay us and we know this person and that's an aunt that does this and that. Just pay attention to the age of the accounts. Don't worry about who it is. You're in business. It doesn't say savings and loan on the front of your marquee. You aren't in the business of lending out money. In fact, one of the interesting statistics that the U.S. Department of Commerce put out is that your accounts receivable depreciates after 90 days at about 0.5% per day. So if you have $10,000 outstanding, starting at day 90, it's losing $50 a day. Within 6 months, you're lucky if you get $1,000. I don't know if you can afford to lose that type of money. But that's what's happening. In fact, that's one of the silent killers of most businesses, is the depreciation on their accounts receivable. They don't even realize that they're losing that money. Make sure that your staff is well trained as to what's expected of the people that you have as your customers, clients, and so forth. The staff has to understand you've got to get paid, because that makes sure that, again, cash flow is king. Sometimes the issue that comes up with a lot of bills and statements that get sent out is that there are questions or there's a concern that it was incorrect. Admit and correct any mistakes on your part immediately so that you can eliminate that. Don't quibble about a couple of dollars. If you can get paid right away and there's some issue, take the money. Number 8 is follow the collection laws in your state. If you have any questions with regards to whether or not you're following the guidelines outlined by the federal government or even your state, just contact your state, and I think you have to contact the State Department of Finance to find out what the rules and regulations are. Number 9, this is in my bailiwick, or for me, use a third party sooner. Instead of waiting until 6 months, try to use a third party sooner. Make sure that if you are going to use a collection agency that you start them even at 90 days. Because the money is, you're able to recover the money sooner at that particular point. Also, one other thing that you need to know about the collection agency business is that if you do hire a collection agency, make sure that they hold you harmless. What that means is that if they break the law in any way, shape, or form, they can't come back after you, because then if they do break the law and they don't hold you harmless, it could cost you quite a bit of money for any rules and regulations that they break. And there are a lot of collection agencies out there, I will tell you, that are not reputable. So just be careful. And number 10, remember that nobody collects every account. It's kind of like a lottery ticket. You may have 50 accounts that may be past due. It's kind of like having 50 lottery tickets. You're not going to win all the lottery tickets, all the scratch-offs or anything like that. You may get 10, you may get 15, you may get 20, you may only get 5. It's just the nature of the beast. And there are people, last thing I'll just mention to you, there are 4 different kinds of payers. You've got the faithful. You send them one statement, they pay you on time. Sometimes you don't even have to send them a statement. We love those people. They keep the lights on, they pay the bills. Then you've got the disorganized. They're the people, I'm sure we've all been there. You go on a vacation, you look at your spouse or significant other and say, I thought you paid that. No, I thought you paid it. Oh, God, we better pay this. They just need gentle reminders. Okay, we've got those people. Then you've got the disrespectful. You can send them statement after statement after statement, and they'll be damned if they're going to send you any money unless you get third-party intervention. And that's where a collection agency can help you. They realize then there are going to be consequences for non-payment. Then, unfortunately, we do have those people. I'm sure there's nobody in this group that are the professional debtors. And they're the ones that knew full well when they came walking into your business, they were never going to pay you. But nobody has a crystal ball to decide who these people are. So it's just important to stay on top of top of your AR. And I'll be available for any questions for anybody. And that's it. Unless anybody has any questions now. Yes?
What's the best way to approach somebody and ask for your money?
Just tell them you owe them the money. I mean, it's, look, I've got an invoice here.
I
It's
used to walk over there with my brother and
that might be against the law because it's intimidation, but you know, if that's required, I'm not going to. A lot of people aren't familiar with the law. It's just asking them on a regular, just calling them, bugging them, because they know they owe you the money. And it's not that they can't pay you. They don't want to, because they're buying cigarettes, they're getting their nails and hair done, they're driving nice cars, they're getting their liquor. It's just that your bill is not important to them. So it's being the squeaky wheel, asking them as often as possible, because the squeaky wheel will get the grease. Yes?
So, bouncing a check is illegal. But is denying a credit card, that's the new way to bounce the check, is to charge something and then go and challenge the charge. We get it all the time at having an event, somebody buys the tickets and they come back and say, I never authorized that, and the event's over. And is that illegal? Is there a way to collect against that, or you just kind of
If as far as my company's concerned, if they signed that document and you know they owe you the money, we can certainly, that's a debt. You can definitely go after them.
What about phone credit card charges? Things like that.
It really depends. You know what? You're really going to have to figure out your own policy as far as that's concerned, as to whether or not it's going to be significant enough to where you say, okay, fine, yeah, I need to go after them. It really is something that's going to be internal. Yes, Jim?
one last question. From 2008, I've had several customers that have declared bankruptcy.
Once somebody, if you've got notice that they've declared bankruptcy, you might as well forget about it. Just write it off. But one other statistic you'll find interesting is that chasing after a bad due account, the Dartnell Institute of Business says it costs most businesses $31.60 to chase after a past due account over 6 months. It's I mean, you could go after them for a year. You're probably spending them, if you're going after them, sending them statement for years, you've wasted a lot of money. And once they file bankruptcy, there's nothing you can do. And that's why you try to get a collection agency involved sooner, because we can find out sooner rather than later whether or not they have filed for bankruptcy. Does that make sense? Any other questions?